What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Crypto Crossroads. And in today's episode, let's talk about Tevaera, a gaming project, Swift Blockchain, a cross border payment solution, and Draper Dragon, an investment bank. But before we get started, do me a quick favor and hit the like and subscribe button, and we can get the show started. Alrighty, so as you guys may know, Swift Blockchain is a project that I covered in the past and I'm extremely bullish on it, given that Draper Dragon is connected to it, and that Coinbase had Swift blockchain listed before when Swift really didn't have much traction, right? In the terms of social media popularity, but it was still working behind the scenes, enabling cross-border payments. Now, Tevaera, on the other hand, is a project that I'm just initially looking into, but there's a couple things that caught my attention, such as the Draper Dragon connection. So let's dive deep into this project. It's a risky project, in my opinion, but that's a lot of times that's where the rewards are at. And again, this is not financial advice. Just use this as supplemental research whenever you're doing your own research. So let's go ahead and take a look at his Twitter for Tevaera. And as you guys can see, it's a gaming blockchain project with on-chain guilds and games, right? So let's get into the juicy part. And I know that's what people want to see, and that will be the tokenomics. Now, as you guys can see, this project was launched on December 26, 2024. So it's fairly new. It's been out in the market for about 8, maybe 9 months. And the market cap is under $3 million. So it's obviously a micro cap. Now, I like projects. I look at projects that are both micro caps and high caps, such as XRP, XLM, Crypto.com CRO token, and whatnot. But I also like taking a little bit of risk, and that's just my personal investment strategy, right? But as you guys can see, the max supply for this coin is 4 billion, and the circulating supply is about 550 million coins, which is approximately 13-14% of the max supply. So that circulating supply could be a little concerning, but in my opinion, since we're getting near the bull run by the end of 2025 or early mid 2026, this circulating supply, even if they increase it, shouldn't be too much of a concern, because, I don't think they will fully circulate it before the bull run. But that's just my opinion. Don't take it for granted. Now, let's take a look at his all time high, which was about 7 cents 7 months ago, around the time at TGE. And then it hit the all time low, July 19, to that's about maybe 43%. And, that's not out of the norm. Anytime a project does TGE, they tend to spike up in price like you see here, and then they hit their low days, which is where we're at right now. So that's not concerning. You see it all over the crypto market. Now, I told you guys that this project is a gaming project, so let me show you guys what they're developing, and then I'll tie it to what I think could potentially happen with Coinbase. And yeah, we'll take a look. So let's take a look at this clip. And as you guys can see, it's more of a mini game, that shouldn't last more than a minute or two. It's just like a run game, nothing crazy. It's just like basic gaming functionality, but and it's not original neither. You see this often on the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, but the Tevaera threw his own twist with the animations and the characters. So the reason I'm showing you guys this game is because I think it could possibly be integrated into the Coinbase wallet, which is the base app, right? Which is supposed to be an everything app, according to Cointelegraph. And this was posted on July 16, 2025. Now, what is an everything app? Well, there's social media app called WeChat, right? And it's based out of China. And that company allows you to do anything on that app. You could pay for stuff, you can make transactions, you could talk to your friends, you could log into your social media, you could pull up, you could pay for like hospital bills or pull up your medical records. It's an everything app. Anything you could do, anything that you could imagine on it. And that's exactly what Twitter X is trying to do. And I think it's going to succeed, but it might take some time. And that's essentially that everything app aspect is what Coinbase is going for with its base app. So then, according to this article, you'll be able to use social apps. You'll be able to chat, make payments, do trading, and I think an aspect of the social um, attributes it's will include gaming, which I think where Tevaera could get integrated into, given that it's on the base network. Now, I believe that a lot of projects, gaming projects, will be integrated into this, and I think Tevaera is one of them. So let's go ahead and make it to his website. And as you guys can see, the Teba token, as I mentioned earlier, is a 4 billion max supply. And then it's the token that powers this project. You'll be able to use it for governance. It'll be is a liquidity token for the Teba Dex, which it has its own marketplace and just the gaming ecosystem itself, right? And then you can also build guilds, which is pretty much you create a crew of individuals and you could tokenize your group, right? So the higher you go up on your score, you'll be able to tokenize uh, based on its popularity of of your team and also their skill level. So to me, it seems like maybe it's kind of going towards like some type of betting mechanism, some type of gambling. But I could be wrong. I'm like I said, I'm still looking into this project, so I have no idea at the current moment. I got to be honest with y'all. And then of course, you'll be able to use it on the game. You'll be able to play to earn these Teba tokens, which is interesting. Now, I'm not a gamer myself, so I'm not really fascinated by these projects because of that. But I'm looking into the connections. I'm looking at the technology and the potential rewards that they could bring to early investors. So let's go ahead and look at the connections, right? And this is where my attention was drawn. Of course, you see Draper Dragon. That's going to be hugely covered in this video. But then again, you see Hashkey Capital. And if you're into Velo, Velo Labs, which is built in the Stellar network, then you'll realize that Hashkey Capital invested not only in Tevaera, but also Velo. Then you have Crypto.com in the bottom. And again, that's a huge exchange. It's expanding to pretty much every corner of the world, right? And it's going to become like Robinhood, tokenizing stocks. So that's bullish. Now let's go over here, and you guys can see that DWF Labs also invested in Teba, and they also invested in I think it was a ton of coins really. And then you see NX Gen or Next Gen. And that company actually invested in Lightlink. And that's a bullish project that I'm looking at myself. I've been doing a deep dive on it, and you guys could find that on my playlist. And you'll be amazed by the connections that they have. Honda, CP Group, banks in Thailand, and whatnot, and Lamborghini, Animoca brand. So I mean, so many connections, and that's you can find that on my playlist. But let's stick to the topic right here. And let's look at that Draper Dragon connection, right? So Draper Dragon invested in Tevaera, but it also invested in Swift blockchain as early as 2018. And I believe that was the year that Swift blockchain was actually created. And what we're looking at right now is the Swift blockchain tweet, and it reads, breaking news. Draper Dragon Digital Fund announces investment in Swift Coin. Draper Dragon is a core member of Draper Venture Network. Previous investments of Draper's include Tesla, SpaceX, Baidu, Twitter, Hotmail, Skype, Coinbase, Banker, and a couple other companies, right? But this is what drew my attention to Swift blockchain. after doing some deeper diving into it. And if you're into Swift blockchain, then I know you came across my homie Black Rule, Shook Focus, and Underdog Crypto. They done a phenomenal job covering this project. So you might want to head to the YouTube channel after this video and check out what they had to say about Swift blockchain and its connections to a bunch of billionaires. Right? Is the money trail is which what we essentially follow as retail investors. But I mean, come on. Draper Dragon invested in Coinbase, and that's the crypto exchange that actually listed Swift Coin. Even though it had low volume for so much time, they did not remove Swift Coin from this exchange. And on top of that, Swift blockchain was actually the only at that time. And I don't know if it's still up to date with this statement, but Swift blockchain was the only DEX that was listed on Coinbase, right? At some point. They Coinbase might have added some DEX coins as of 2025. I'm not sure about that, but Swift blockchain was the exception when it got listed onto Coinbase. I think in 2022, right, or 2023. I could be wrong on those dates. So that's pretty cool. Now let's go on and fast forward a couple days. On January 12th, Swift Blockchain posted the signing ceremony between Draper Dragon and Swiftcoin, right? And as you guys can see, this took place in Silicon Valley, which is where Swiftcoin is located. And Andy Tang, who is the managing director of Draper, was there present with the Swiftcoin team to sign the investment agreement with Alex Witt, who is actually a co-founder of Swift Blockchain. Now, Alex Witt did leave the Swift blockchain project a while back, but it's important to know that he actually contributed to Swift blockchain to a great extent. And he actually came from Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and another bank that I can't really recall right now. But he is well connected and he was connected Swift blockchain with many companies. And as a matter of fact, he was advising banks, you know, on how to bridge onto the blockchain space. So one of these banks was a German bank, and I can't really recall it right now. So what I'll do is I'll probably post it in the comment section or tweet it on my blog on my Twitter X account so that you guys can access that information. Or who knows, maybe I'll make a video on it if I didn't cover it on my previous Swift video. But I mean that's pretty big, that was in 2018. Now, a couple months after that, Swift Blockchain went ahead and tweeted more information about Draper Dragons or Draper Ventures Network, and you guys can see that they Draper invested into Ledger, obviously Swift Blockchain, and also Telegram, which is pretty much it's popping right now. It's connected with Animoca Brands and Ton. Now, let's skip forward a couple years. Let's go into 2022. And that is when Swift posted on Twitter, "Thank you, Draper and Draper Dragon, for inviting us. Draper Dragon is one of the top VCs that invested in Swift blockchain and the Swift token." So that's good to know right there. So not only did Draper Dragon invest into the company, but it also invested into the Swift coin, right? So that's two different things. So that's bullish. So that's letting us know Draper Dragon is not only interested in the company and its value, but also in the value of the token. Now, whether or not Draper Dragon still owns Swift blockchain, man, it beats me. I really don't know. But we know that it was interested in Swift blockchain in 2018 and also in 2022, which is only 3 years ago. And I think, man, I'm almost certain that 2022 is the year that Coinbase listed Swift blockchain, right? And the reason is Draper Dragon actually invested in Coinbase, so it has some type of stake in Coinbase. And what we think, Black Rouge, Shook Focus, and Underdog, including myself, we think that Tim Draper, who was the face of Draper Dragon, he pulled the strings behind the scenes and told Coinbase, "Hey, we want you to list Swift blockchain. It's a cross-border payment project, and you guys can actually utilize it for your own transactions within your centralized exchange." And that's probably what happened because, again, when Swift blockchain got listed on Coinbase, it was the only DEX based project that was listed, at that time. Now, I mean, there's so many connections between Tim Draper and many other companies. But as you guys can see, Tim Draper and Draper Dragon, they're no joke, right? So the fact that it invested into Tevaera kind of tells me that there's something big going on behind the scenes. And it wasn't only Draper Dragon that saw potential in Tevaera. You also have Hashkey Capital and also what was the other one? Crypto.com. So that's pretty interesting. And as a matter of fact, it's already listed on Crypto.com, right? You guys can go ahead and verify that for yourselves. But that is extremely bullish. Now, if you guys found this video entertaining, then please do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe button. We already passed, we flew past 500 subscribers, and I'm really thankful for that. Like I mentioned before, I find extreme joy making these videos and being able to connect with you guys here on the comment section and also on Twitter X. So always feel free to reach out, give me any suggestions or any projects that you're bullish on. And thank you guys for coming in. Remember that God is good, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.